Okay, so today is March 8th, and we're just going to do another walkthrough of a career in accounting, what this may entail, what are some considerations to keep in mind. And so thank you, Brad, for joining. So here we go. I just want to again remind, for anyone that is joining that this is a recorded session, so I will share it afterwards. So anyone who isn't able to join us, they can benefit from this recording. And again, the goal of these coffee series is to just create that safe space to explore different careers in accounting, especially as we get into public practice recruit season. I think this will be top of mind. So what does that career entail? And of course, asking questions either to myself or to any instructor or anyone really that may be able to assist in this particular journey. So that is the goal. So I think I will again refer to the CPA BC recruitment site, which is quite helpful. So the link is here. And so I'm just going to share that again. When we last saw this a couple of weeks ago, it was still quite bare. They hadn't yet populated their recruitment opportunities or events, but as at today, they have populated. So again, a really good starting point for any students who are interested in a career in public practice, who are interested in the CPA recruit, which is starting. They do typically hire 1 year out, so they are probably hiring for their January or September 2024. But even with that said, there may be instances where they want to, they meet you now, and even though the intake isn't until 2024, there may be opportunities to start earlier. So just a good opportunity to start your networking and learn more about the many, many different firms that are available. So a really good starting point. I would say if you haven't attended one of CPA BC's info session, I would really recommend to start there. So the link actually is right here. If I click on that, you see there's many info sessions or recruitment Q&A sessions. So just to understand the basics. And so CPA BC is hosting quite a few of these. Otherwise, if you feel ready and you are ready to partake in some recruitment events, CPA BC has also taken the role to consolidate a lot of these events because it does become quite overwhelming. So these events are open to any candidate, and if they are interested, say, for example, D&H Group is hosting virtual office hours, essentially to ask them anything. So it's a series here, just dropping in and out, similar to what this is, I guess, some coffee chats. MMP is hosting, so this unfortunately is for Nanaimo, so maybe out of reach for some. Invictus is promoting some events. So this is a good site to maybe bookmark and revisit because it will be populating over the next couple of months as we get really heavy into recruit season. So a really good initial starting point. Again, open to anyone. So not, you may meet different candidates from different institutions or different walks in life. Okay, so I like to start there. The other resource I highly recommend to bookmark as we get heavy into recruitment season are the following. So if you're not already aware, Brad, I don't know if you're aware of this lovely website here from the Melville School of Business, their student success coaches. So no, so we have 4, possibly 3 right now, but 4 student success coaches who are very eager actually to meet one-on-one. They can, coach you individually. They can also give you direct feedback on any material you currently have, be it your cover letter or your resume. And so reaching out to them, and they may also offer some additional advice. Maybe you're not interested in public practice. Maybe you want to go into industry. Maybe you want a co-op role or an internship role. These are all things that they can touch upon. And so bookmarking this website here wouldn't be a bad idea. Let me just try to make that bigger. And so here you can learn a little bit more about, say, the internship or co-op program. I'm just going to highlight this site right here. So webinars. Okay, so again, a good idea to bookmark this and check it from time to time because you're not able to actually subscribe to their mailing list, it seems. So you may just need to, check in and register in advance, and you'll then be reminded. Here you can see they are preparing for some accounting specific webinars. So we have that in the works right now, aiming for end of April. And so finalizing the details for that. So highly recommend for anyone that's interested in the CPA Recruit to bookmark these dates, and more details to come. Because as we know, the accounting industry is a little different, right? You may word things differently, or you may approach things a little bit differently. The other site I just want to highlight here is the Accounting Students of Kwantlen page. So I'm just going to bring that over here. And so this is a lovely website that has been recently updated. I think it's a lot more user-friendly. So checking that out. And I really recommend checking the KPU specific events. So here, if you click on that, you can see we have a coffee session today. They are also promoting, KPU specific events, but also CPA BC events. So if you didn't see this in the CPA BC website, they will also remind you here. So there's that. Also a calendar to just showcase different events that are ongoing. And if there are any specific KPU events, so for example, maybe we saw there Invictus, right? Invictus wants to come maybe on our campus and speak to our students specifically. So if there are any firm-specific events for KPU, this is probably your best spot to monitor that. That will not be shared, say, on CPABC's website, of course, but definitely monitoring KPU's Ask website would be a good idea. So I just want to share those few resources. And then if no thoughts or questions, we can actually dive into some sample job descriptions again today. Brad, did you have anything to add? Do you think I missed anything or anything to add? I think no? Okay, no. All right, so what I want to do actually is maybe just share. Let me try to get this open. Here we go. So Brad kindly shared the following. Okay, that should be better. Okay, so I think this is a great one because it shows, the basics really. So, at the very minimum, you need to have a grasp of full cycle accounting, which is something that I think, through your studies, you absolutely should have the basic fundamentals for. Knowledge of QuickBooks, and I would say, being mindful of the difference between, say, QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. Brad, if you have anything to share on that, I do find that QuickBooks Online seems to be the more popular program these days. Once upon a time, maybe Sage or QuickBooks Desktop, but QBO, I think, is probably a particular skill set you will want to learn. And there are lots of free modules that QBO offers actually for students. So, if you have spare time and you want to play around in the program, they have lots of free modules and free samples available. Brad, do you have anything to share? Is QBO your go-to, or you have other programs you prefer?
There is no go-to really. If you go to Indeed job site and look at, any typical 20 ads from anywhere, the location doesn't matter. So if you have to go to Chilliwack or Calgary to get good ads, get the good ads. But if you look at 20 of them and you boil them all down, virtually every one of the 2,800 non-teaching public practice firms in BC will advertise the same requirements. You better know QuickBooks Desktop. You better know QuickBooks Online. You better know QuickBooks Online Accountant. Those are three different programs that run three different ways. Almost like Excel versus Word. They're, kind of the same name, but they're, Microsoft, but boy, are they different. And then Sage 50 Online. And why do you have to know all five of those? Well, I just want to master one, because every client that walks through the door is going to have one of those five. And then the very second client who comes in 2 hours later, do the books here. Oh my goodness, it's Sage 50 Desktop. The very next one, oh my goodness, it's QuickBooks Desktop. And you can't just know one or two or three. You got to know the whole banana. And so, yeah, you kind of don't want to just pick one if you can help it.
Perfect. So that's a really good set of skills to have. If you're interested in, say, especially as a bookkeeper, you will want to have the skill set to tackle different programs and different softwares. I would say in my experience, I would definitely not have any of those legacy programs on my resume. I wouldn't know really how to use QuickBooks Desktop or Sage. I know how to extract information for my purposes to then audit them if need be. And that, I think, if you're interested in some of these public practice roles, you'll notice, audit is a very common one. They, will have their own programs for the auditing aspect, right? But here, this sample here, and this is where you need to be very careful in terms of what the role is pertaining to. If it's for, say, a bookkeeper or junior accountant role, then absolutely these the knowledge in these various programs are key, because your client may have different programs that they use to execute their bookkeeping. With public practice roles, say in assurance or tax, likely these larger firms will have their own built-in programs. And so just being mindful of software, I think that's often overlooked. You have different tools in your tool belt to execute different jobs. And the more you know, the more experience you have with these different tools, the more competitive you will be, essentially. Okay, so back to technical knowledge. So knowledge of payroll and related functions. Okay, so very key for these kinds of role here. And sales tax. And to be honest, I find that this is often probably the most challenging, even for a full-fledged CPA. Knowledge of sales tax is often a struggle. So, something to be mindful of, and just ensuring at least you have the basic knowledge. And CPA program, they do touch on a bit of the GST, but definitely PST is often overlooked. Otherwise, yeah, this is a great one. So thank you, Brad, for sharing a common job, the basics, really, the basic requirements that you should possess to apply for a role like this. Okay, and so here, I'm just going to exit some of this. So BDO, so this is a national firm. They are public practice. And as you can see here, they're looking for junior accountants to join their assurance and accounting group. Okay, so if we explore that a little bit, as with any job description, you can learn a little bit more about the firm. Let's go all the way back up, okay. Learn a little bit more about this particular firm. And as you meet them and as you network with them, you'll learn more about their people and their culture, because, you do need to appreciate that difference between all the different firms that exist. So here we can see they are looking for someone to join the assurance and accounting team, January 2024. So they are likely recruiting now for that position. And so here, again, very vague, but let's try to go through this. Efficiently utilize technical knowledge from courses to carry out work projects and assignments. So, learning, taking into account what you've learned in your classroom, but applying it to true real life settings, which I find a lot of students, they struggle because it's not exactly as they saw it, or it's not exactly presented in the same way. Well, you do need to trust your technical knowledge that you gained over your academic experiences, and then apply it. It will not look exactly the same. It will not be presented exactly the same. So, don't, I guess, assume that. Don't get overwhelmed and into a panic zone because it looks slightly different. You do have a lot of that basic technical knowledge already. It just may be presented differently. We saw this wording before, actually, preparing and completing working papers. So again, this is depending on the task at hand, but essentially, the way I like to describe it is, typically my working papers are an Excel document, to be honest with you, an Excel document, and I am showcasing all the work. I'm documenting everything that, that lives in that file and will live on and allows me to A, retrace my steps, but B, allow anyone that will be subsequently reviewing it to understand what kind of analysis I did or what kind of information I'm trying to share. So essentially the support documents that will then support the financial statements, right? Support that trial balance that you are working towards, that adjusted trial balance, I should say. This actually is incorrect, right? So they really shouldn't be saying notice to readers anymore. We are in different standards now. And actually, Brad, I don't know if you want to jump in here. It's interesting that they say assurance role, but then they talk about notice to reader engagements. That would be a compilation, right, with the section 4200 now. So compilation engagements. So this may be slightly outdated, but we can forgive them on that. And then, so this is one role. This is actually non-assurance role. And this bullet point here is assurance. So this is actually very, very different. So possibly they're recruiting for two very different teams from the sounds of it. So maybe learning more about it. You know, do you have opportunities in certain teams? Sounds like you have an assurance team. Sounds like you have a non-assurance team. So maybe learning about the differences there and which team may speak to you. Building positive relationship with clients. So of course, those interpersonal skills. So this, you know, you may not actually gain proficiency in the classroom because you're so focused on the technical knowledge. You may have some exposure through your group projects, from your team projects, but otherwise you may be gaining experience here from, say, your volunteer roles or outside of the classroom. So being able to demonstrate your ability to speak, right, to another human. We're in hopefully in this post-COVID pandemic world soon. And so you will be interacting with other humans regularly and just displaying your ability to do so. And then if we go down the list, participate in business development initiatives and identify new business opportunities. Interesting. I mean, if you can do this at a junior level, that is bravo. That is amazing. You know, your first year or two in any public practice role is quite overwhelming. You're just learning the processes, learning the very basics. But as you gain more experience, yes, you can start seeing more and you can actually recommend maybe going through your manager, your supervisor first, business opportunities or process improvements for your clients. And that's, you know, that's always a good value add. The last bullet point here, so effectively communicating with team members regarding progress updates and issues. So I think what this is speaking to, and it's very relevant right now because we're in March, it is busy season for many firms. They are juggling many things. And so being able to time manage, I'm surprised actually it's not here, to manage your time, manage your work, and effectively communicate, because you may have many files on the go, but ensuring that they're progressing and effectively communicating so that, say, your senior or your manager or your partner isn't panicked because they trust you. You are, you know, working. You may not hear from them or they may not hear from you every single day, but they can trust that the work is being done. And so you're maybe communicating that periodically. Okay, did you see anything else, Brad, when you scanned through these bullet points? Nothing else, nothing to add? Okay. Well, again, that's what I saw. And so each person will see things differently. But I think this one is really interesting. My takeaway here is that I think they're recruiting for two very different teams. And so I would love to learn a little bit more about these two different teams and what kind of culture, what kind of work that would entail. Otherwise, if we scroll down, right here, you have complete. So this is the expectation. So, you know, you've completed your undergraduate degree. And so you have essentially completed the CPA prereqs. And so when you join the firm, and especially say with a large firm like this, they are likely covering your CPA fees. That's something you might want to be mindful of as well. Different firms may have different compensation packages. And so with some firms, they cover the full CPA program, which is, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. So that is, you know, great. Don't assume that all firms do that. And so assuming you have your prerequisites, they will enroll you, or you will enroll in the CPA PEP program and start completing your modules, Core 1, Core 2, and onwards. And then you're on your way and you're supported by the firm with the financial needs, but also the resources, right? Because they may have mentorship programs or they may have study leave opportunities for you to focus on your studies. So this is a huge component that you want to look into in terms of what firm you may want to work for or work with. You have a desire to provide outstanding client service and commitment to teamwork. So again, right, I don't see any mention of, this is your technical fine, but there's again an emphasis on your soft skills, your ability to communicate, your ability to build rapport and manage relationships with clients. In time, you have proven leadership skills because after a while, you may be the one actually leading the file or leading your team. And you display strong problem solving, analytical, and communication skills. So again, things that you do learn in the classroom, but you may have experience outside of the classroom as well. So being able to bridge all of that will really build your profile. Okay. Anything to add there? Otherwise, I think that's all I had to share today, really. Nothing else to share? Okay. So I think this is, again, just one example. This one I would label as a large firm for a assurance or non-assurance team. There's just so many different, and public practice, I should mention. So public practice, large firm, assurance or non-assurance team. And so as you explore more job descriptions, you'll see non-public practice roles. So maybe you're not interested in public practice at all. You want to go into industry. So being on the lookout for that. We are in public practice recruitment season. So if you are interested in public practice, then distinguishing the different firms, right? Large firms, small firms, there are pros and cons to those different firms and their culture and the extent of exposure you may get. Their type of clients, right? So for example, I'll use KPMG as an example. They have different offices. And so some offices, they specialize in public companies, where some offices, they specialize in private companies. So distinguishing that as well and knowing who you're networking with and whether that's, working towards the group that you may want to learn or pair with in the future. The public practice team, the public company team, I believe they also have specialization in certain sectors, right? So financial institutions or, mining, for example. Again, this is back in my day, so I think they still have that today. And then lastly, the type of work. So this is an example of assurance and possibly non-assurance, but maybe you're interested in tax. Okay, so looking up for those tax roles, you may be able to get directly into their tax group. And so there's just going to be an overwhelming number of job descriptions or job postings in the next few months or next few weeks. And so just hopefully being able to better distinguish the different opportunities. And if you're not sure, this is where you can reach out to, your contacts or your instructor, or if you are networking, just asking questions about these particular roles you've been seeing and getting feedback on that. Okay, well, 9:56, that's all I have for today. So thank you. Thank you, Brad, for joining. And yeah, have a good Wednesday.